Hello everyone. This is the third part of the story, Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Chapter 11. It's been a month since I first arrived at the camp, and I have found along my way certain difficulties in my path for self-improvement. For example, apparently I suck at hand-to-hand combat. I'm not the worst in the camp, but I'm certainly not the best. Luke, Clarice and Annabeth are constantly kick my ass in practice. And Clarice seems to enjoy it, and then people wonder why she falls into the mud 10 times a day. Oh well. Most kids would laugh at me, expecting me to be mad, but I wasn't. I knew almost everyone here had an unfair advantage over me, which was called years of training under a hero maker, but not everything was bad for little Adam. Thanks to Hecate's children, I had learned a lot about Greek magic. By borrowing all their books, I have returned them, and I have learned something interesting. Greek magic was considerably easier and at the same time more difficult than my own magic. And before you even ask, how can it be easier and harder at the same time? Well, the answer is in the following. Learning the theory of Greek magic is easy. The incantations are a breeze compared to the ones I usually use. But sometimes the rituals are too long for something I could do with my magic in a few seconds, so I guess the moral of the story is, use whatever fits the situation.
Meh.
Good enough. Are you going to join us in Capture the Flag today? Annabeth asked, snapping me out of my train of thought. Nope, I smiled. With my behavior I had acquired a bunch of enemies. No. Enemies is a harsh word, angry acquaintances that one works better, anyhow, and by a bunch, I mean the entirety of Ares' cabin, so if I played that, they would all ignore capturing the flag to try and beat me up. And before anyone asks, I regret nothing. Are you really that scared of Clarice? Annabeth smirked. Weaponizing my pride, I chuckled. I respect your cunning, but I also hate you for it. I'm in. While I had my reason to avoid such games, it would be fun to troll them in Capture the Flag, but I would have to be careful as not to raise any suspicion. Great, I will sign you up. Annabeth smiled, running to put my name on the list before I had the chance to change my mind. You know Annabeth thinks you are the one, right? Luke said as he approached me, holding a knife in his left hand. The one? Please elaborate? I inquired as I got ready for the game. There is a prophecy she heard from Chiron, that one day someone special would come to the camp, and with him or her, she would get out of the camp in a quest, Luke replied. Oh.
Yeah.
The prophecy, I see, I nodded. I don't think I am though, I chuckled. Angry? Why is male boy angry? Don't worry about it, kid, Luke smiled, holding the knife too close for my liking. Annabeth thinks every new camper that comes through here is the omen she's been waiting for. And while you are truly different than the rest of us, you are not special. I am starting to think there is a personal grudge under this conversation. You seem almost angry. I smiled as he held the knife a few inches from me. I can't help but wonder why. Why is it that you receive so much attention from the gods? Luke smiled back, devoid of emotion. You aren't good at fighting, nor you excel in any other category, and yet, look at what you have, a gift from the gods, a cabin for yourself. Tell me, by this point, he was holding the knife at my throat. Sure, why not? The reason why is, I smiled with a small shrug, Ithjimla sup. As soon as those words left my mouth, Luke was pushed with tremendous force out of my personal bubble, flying a few meters away as Tree stopped his body with a loud crash. Maybe I had put too much juice into that spell, oh well. With a smile I walked towards him to help him stand up and check if I didn't do any permanent damage, and as I walked I could see the surprise in his eyes. So that's why you've been glaring at me every now and then. Look. I haven't seen my siblings in a while, not since they dropped me here, so let's get along, shall we? I didn't like people like him. He had so much to be grateful for, and yes, I could understand his point. Life as a demigod sucks, but he was being an ass to the wrong guy. Yes, his dad abandoned him, sad for him, but he is just one of the millions that suffer the same thing. That shit happens to humans too. Demigods aren't the only ones with shitty dads. But I suppose he is free to hate the world. It's not my place to lecture him. The only reason I attacked him was because he held a knife on my throat, and yes, I knew he wasn't going to kill me, but the fact he put a knife so close to my face is despicable. Sorry mail boy, but I don't take spam email. How did you do that? Luke asked. Oh, that? I chuckled. That is one of the demigod powers I inherited from my beloved yet absent mother. I can push people away with my mind. Too bad it only works once a day. I wonder if he was going to believe that, or is it two? I can never remember the exact number. Usually, I don't need to push someone more than once. Luke stared at me for a second before bursting in a fit of laugh. Did you know the knife was dull, right? He said, showing me the knife. So that's why I didn't felt threatened by his proximity. Did you know I could have pushed you way harder? I snorted. Take care kid. Luke stood up and walked away. What an interesting fellow. He is making it so easy to care about him when the time to fight against him comes. Anyhow, it's time to have so fun. I already filled my daily quota of angst for the day. I need some laughs, preferably of the Clarice falling face first kind. Chapter 12. At last, it was time for Capture the Flag, and I wasn't gonna lie, I was excited. The general idea behind Capture the Flag was very fun. Now all I had to do was survive Clarice and her goons without people knowing too much about my powers. As I sat, reading a book I had enchanted to be with all the letters backward, campers yelled and cheered as Annabeth and two of her siblings ran into the pavilion carrying a silk banner. They really make a show out of it. This is going to be
so
fun. Our banner apparently was a barn owl above an olive tree, so we are fighting for Athena them. Maybe I control the flag if we win, we'll see. From the opposite side of the pavilion, Clarice the massively aggressive, tall, and buff teenager, and her lapdogs ran in with another banner, of identical size, but instead of a lovely owl, it had a bloody spear and a boar's head.
Oh.
Maybe I can change their banner, that's even better. I turned to one of my nephews, and asked, out of curiosity, does anyone ever dies in here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's usually accidents. Oh, well, I suppose I will bring my C game. C game, my nephew inquired. Shouldn't it be your A game?
Nah.
Clarice is not worth the effort. Besides, even if she made me bring my A game, I would never tell her, I chuckled. I am glad we have an uncle around here, my nephew, who was older than me said between chuckles. I smiled. Well, I gotta go. I promise Godly I would help her. Goldie. Well, lead the way uncle, I am coming with you, my nephew smiled as he gave a playful punch to the shoulder. We've made a temporary alliance with Athena's cabin, just because of you. We can't have our only uncle dying on us, can we? I can almost feel the faith you have in me, I snorted. The teams were announced for everyone to hear. Athena's cabin had made an alliance with Apollo, one of the biggest cabins in terms of soldiers. Apparently, they had accepted to help just to avoid me getting badly hurt by the enraged bull. I mean Clarice. Ares's cabin on the other had a bunch of allies, most of them were. I don't want to say useless, but
Yeah.
Dionysus's cabin, Demeter's cabin, Aphrodite's cabin, and Hephaestus's cabin. From what I'd seen since I got here, the children of Aphrodite were the weakest in that alliance, with Dionysus's cabin being the second best, having some decent athletes around my level in hand-to-hand combat. So maybe not so decent, and above me in armed combat, but there were only 2 demigods there which made them weak in numbers. As for the others, well, none of them posed much of a challenge in combat, except of course, for Ares's cabin, which had a dozen of the biggest, ugliest, and deodorant haters in this camp. They could weaponize their armpits, I swear. Chiron hammered his hoof on the marble. Heroes, he announced. You know the rules. The creek is the boundary line. The entire forest is fair game. All magic items are allowed. The banner must be prominently displayed, and have no more than 2 guards. Prisoners may be disarmed, but may not be bound or gagged. No killing or maiming is allowed. I will serve as a referee and battlefield medic. Arm yourselves. I had 2 questions. 1, the fuck is the creek, and 2, did he say all magic items are allowed? Moo.
Ha! 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 Ha!
I will thoroughly enjoy this. I wonder if Clarice will like to be permanently bald. Anyhow, I'll think about her punishment as I go. Right now is time to get ready. I need 1 sword, 1 bow, 1 quiver, 1 beach chair, and 2 liters of Coke, Pepsi if I can't find Coke. So, let me see if I get this straight. You asked me to join your team. I asked Annabeth, who nodded in answer, and my only duty is to stay guarding this flag? I pointed to the flag, and she nodded. Awesome, I said, putting up my beach chair, which in turn confused the heck out of Annabeth. How? Annabeth asked in shock, pointing at the chair. Annabeth, I had a feeling you would use me as a bait, and I planned to enjoy said job. So Tata, go and do your thing, child of Athena, while I enjoy a cold Pepsi and wait for Clarice. I smiled, sitting on my comfortable chair, with a frown on my face. I was still mad I did not found Coke, but I suppose for now Pepsi will do, for now. This, arg. Annabeth sighed in defeat. She knew I was impossible to deal with. She had come to learn about that the first 2 weeks of camp. Fine, but stay here. I brought a book. I ain't moving, I shot back with a smile. Many are probably wondering, Adam, are you stupid? You have a 6-foot-tall teenage girl fueled on testosterone that wants to kill you, and yet, you are chilling on a beach chair with a Greek book about economics that you will clearly pretend to read. Well, allow this young demigod to clear some misconceptions. You see, when I accepted to join this game, I had in mind using my magic to defend myself, but doing so while hiding it was hard, so I came with a solution, putting traps everywhere. See, in the hour Chiron gave us to get ready after his little speech, I tagged all my teammates with a magical signature without their explicit consent. I know you usually have to get consent for everything, but for this, it was either that or falling into a pit full of magic-infused mosquitoes, or getting a hair-erasing explosion, so I took the liberty of saving them from that. You see, my traps only work with those that do not have my magical signature, which means my team was safe, but Clarice and her allies would have to deal with stupid non-lethal but probably mentally scarring traps. There is one trap where the victim will be forced to see a documentary about Helvetica, the writing font. It's an 8-hour documentary. I dare anyone to find a bigger waste of time than that. Anyhow, the point, there was almost a 0% chance of Clarice getting to me. I had hundreds of stupid traps around. I would have put more, but I didn't have the time. Chapter 13. With the whistle of Chiron, the game began, and one by one, everyone began to fall into my traps. Nothing lethal but really annoying. After an hour of screaming confusion, I felt something coming closer and closer. All of a sudden 3 of Ares's children came yelling and screaming out of the forest, looking rather dashing. Clarice had half her hair cut off, and the other half was painted in pink with a massive and unnecessary amount of glitter decorating what was left of it. Her eyebrows were all gone, and she had a fake mustache and unicorn stickers stuck to her face with superglue. I love a good prank. Time to use my weird emotion thingy that sometimes points what a normal set of eyes can. Now that I think that out loud. Sounds useless. Looking fine, Clarice, I chuckled, closing the book I was pretending to read. Get the punk. Clarice screamed angrily, putting on her helmet while pointing at me. All right, it seems we can't have a civil conversation, I sighed, kicking the beach chair out of the way. Too bad. I had many jokes about your current appearance. Her eyes glared through the slits of her helmet in anger. Boy, she was angry. On her hand, she was wielding a 5-foot-long spear that looked rather threatening, with the tip flickering with a red and mysterious light. Maybe it was a gift from her dad. Considering her siblings only had the standard-issue bronze swords, while she held something clearly more powerful. Now, it's time to show you my true power. I smiled, looking as threatening as possible, making them somewhat wary, and with a battle cry I threw the book I was pretending to read at her, and skedaddle out of there, into the river nearby. I knew my limitations. 3 against 1 without my magic, I was toast. Heck, 1-on-1 against her without magic, I was toast. I had a gift for magic and archery, but I was average right now in the skills she excelled at, so it was time to improvise. Seeing this, she growled, as she and her brothers ran after me. Feeling something approaching at me in the air, I ducked and managed to dodge her flying spear that lodged itself in the water. And even though I had clearly dodged the throw, I felt a painful tingling all over my body. Interesting. My hair stood on end, my limbs went numb. Fuck. Electricity. Her spear was electric. I should have read the books with more detail. While my body was shaking in pain from the electricity being forced into my body, one of Clarice's brothers kicked me out of the water, not to save me from my pain but, well, he had accomplished that indirectly. They really lack in the brain department. They could have beat me to a pulp right there, but alas, they were too busy laughing maniacally. Chiron said, no killing and no maiming, but he didn't say anything about breaking every bone in your body. Let's see how you enjoy being a cripple, Clarice said in delight, as she turned to her brothers. Grab him, I will start with his fingers. Alright, this went from 0 to 1,000 in less than a second. Alright, you seem to have some anger management problems, so let's stop this before someone actually gets hurt. I wanted to keep my magic secret, but if I had to reveal my power to defend myself, I would. Oh, wow, Clarice snorted in amusement. I'm scared of this guy. Really scared. I will give you one more chance to leave this as it is. The flag is that way, I told her. I normally don't get angry, but the fact she wanted to cripple me for life really touched a nerve. But even then I was going to give her one more chance to get out of here unscathed. We don't want the flag, one of her brothers snorted. We want to beat you up. I don't know how, but you have been pranking us since you arrived here, and it's time to pay, with blood. I want you to remember, I gave you 3 a way out, I told them. Forget about the breaking his bones part, Clarice laughed in anger. Let's maim him. So you will break the rules, I chuckled bitterly. They nodded as one said, seeing you as an armless, legless monstrosity will make losing my dessert privilege worth it. So be it, I smiled as looked at them, taking a few steps back to end it all in one single shot. I hope you like being electrocuted, otherwise blame karma, she's a bitch, I told them. Nidnuazur Gwart 8 Ria, Tai 8 Rewap DNA Gim, 8 Rayer FO Rednut, Egnult Morph 8 Sneva DNA Spar Neukirst. Leaf Steeth Gim DNA et Sat 8 Nigger Rednut. As soon as I said those words, a large bolt of lightning descended upon my target from the air, striking Clarice and her brothers down to the ground out cold. Good thing I still lacked the juice to fry them up, considering how angry I was a few seconds ago. Things would have turned out for the worse. What in the name of Zeus was that? Chiron muttered in disbelief, running from out of the woods towards the injured campers in shock. How can you control the thunder? If you are a son of Leto. With the power of Christmas or friendship, one of the two, I smiled innocently.
Yeah.
I knew after this my powers were out in the open, but that doesn't mean I can't mess with Chiron for a bit. I knew you had something under your sleeve, but this was out of my calculations. Annabeth, as she ran towards me with the enemy's flag, looking somewhat disappointed. You could have killed them. Oh, stuff it, wise girl. They wanted to maim me. Oh well, I suppose it's time to fix my mess, dear brother Apollo. If you hear my prayer, please heal the campers I injured. I know you are the god of healing, so help me out here. And before you ask, yes, they deserved some of the pain I delivered. But I might have gone over the top with how much punishment they could take. And by the way, can you get me a TV? And some games? The camp gets boring at times. With love, Adam. They are healing, Luke said in shock. Is this also your doing? I asked my brother for help, and he answered. I shrugged. They only partially healed. It seems Lord Apollo wants to leave them with some of the pain, Chiron stated, as he handed me a note. Dear little brother, don't worry, I will help you out, but considering they tried to maim you for something as harmless as a few pranks, I will only heal 50% of the damage you rightfully gave them. And I will curse them to stay in that painful state for a month, with no healing to soothe their pain, and no medicine to calm their minds. How dare they? If I had it my way, they would be dead. Anyhow, about the game console and TV. What are you into? Nintendo? Xbox? Or PS? All of them? And in that matter, what games you think my children would like to play with you? Waiting for your response, your incredibly awesome and handsome big brother, Apollo. I want Call of Duty, one of my nephews said from over my shoulder. Mario Party. Smash. Chapter 14. I was grounded on the grounds I had used lethal force against Clarice and her brothers, but it wasn't so bad. I just got some extra chores which weren't so bad, and so my dessert privileges were cancelled for a month. Needless to say, Chiron and Mr. D interrogated me about things like, how can you control the thunder, how does your power work, etc., etc. And while I tried very hard not to give away too much, I had to. They were getting angry after 3 hours of me trolling them with very evasive answers. Anywho, after they discovered my power was magic, they grew concerned about me. How can a child of Leto, the Titaness of motherhood, have a child whose magic powers outshine the children of Hecate, the goddess of magic? But all things considered, the results were better than I had anticipated. Not only the children of Ares now feared me, but I also had a new TV and 3 video game consoles with all the games available for each console in the market. Apollo had decided it was best just to have variety, as he said on his last note. I just went ahead and bought you all the games I could find, so you have every single one of them. Now have some fun. Oh. Before I forget, in other news, you made my day today at the council. You should have seen Ares, he was fuming. He was angrier than usual for what you did to his daughter. Oh boy, how I love seeing him like that. And don't worry, he is not a hands-on dad. He will forget about this tomorrow, so he will not bother you. But if he does, just tell him, Apollo will release the winged package. He will know what that means. Anyhow, enjoy the games. In the end, everything ended well. As a proof here, I am destroying Apollo's cabin in a Mortal Kombat tournament where I still was undefeated. While wondering what the fuck was the winged package, all I knew it was that the winged package felt like some kind of blackmail Apollo had on Ares. Adam, Chiron said as he entered the cabin, come with me. I fixed my eyes on Chiron for a moment before handing one of my nephews the controller. Lead the way. Wondering what he wanted to talk about. Surely it can't be about Clarice, we already talked about that for hours. The oracle has summoned you, Chiron muttered, with a dark tone. I have a quest, don't I? I have a quest? I asked, just to confirm. Yes, but she will tell you more about it. Chiron nodded, leading me to where the oracle resided, and it was almost ominous the energy I was feeling, as if death was leaking from the building. All right. I sighed, entering the place. And it was like I had entered the set of a horror movie. There were skulls hanging on the walls and the smell of death was strong. I could feel my own heart beating in anticipation, wondering where the fuck was the oracle. Eventually, in my search for the oracle, I found myself in front of a decaying corpse. You have a mission, the corpse muttered, coming to life in a very Walking Dead style. For the love of. I don't know, pick your god. I said, jumping back. In retrospect, it was my fault for standing too close to it. I almost slapped the skull out of you. I need some air. I am sorry, I am usually more amiable, but I did not expect you to move or be alive for that matter. I said as I took a few relaxing and calming seconds, before continuing with my very own Resident Evil story. All right, what is the quest? As soon as I asked, a vision forcibly appeared in my mind showing me various images, and very descriptive feelings about my quest. I had to go to the Siren's Island, to recover a lost tome of something, and die? Is that all, Lady Oracle? I asked, shocked. Was I destined to die? Thank you for your offering. Have a nice day, the Oracle said, waving her decrepit hand. I didn't know how, but in the vision I felt my body collapse in pain. I felt the agony, the despair. No. I have to focus. I won't allow a Walking Dead extra tell me what will happen in my life. Destiny is bendable, and I'll be damned if I let a MAB fuck my life. What did the Oracle tell you? Chiron asked as I left the house. Tomb. Cave. The building. As I left the building. I have to recover a random book that is located on the Siren's Island, and apparently die in the process, I answered. As if I was going to die. I will nuke those sirens before they start singing Under the Sea, but don't worry. I don't plan on dying, I added with a smile, seeing the worried expression that Chiron had on his face. Tell me, did you see your own death? Chiron asked worriedly. No, but I felt it. I answered, but don't worry mate, those singing sushi rolls will not stop me. Good, because your death, it's not certain, feeling it and seeing it are two different things, so do what you must, but you have to change that uncertainty, Chiron stated, concerned. Was planning to, I chuckled. You now have to choose your 2 willing members of the camp to accompany you if you wish. Nope, I rather go alone. In the lamentable case I do end up kicking the bucket. I do not want to take the entire group with me down, considering many of them will be essential to stop Kronos and Gaia in a future. I will solo this one. As you wish, Chiron nodded. Artemis point of view. Apollo had a vision where the death of our little brother was undecided. He felt him die, yet he didn't see him dying. But even with an undecided fate, this was more than enough to have us on the edge. If he died, Mother would mourn him for all of eternity. Apollo and I would mourn him. If the short time we have come to pass together I had grown to care for him like a big sister would, and how could I not? His heart was unlike the majority of other demigods I had the displeasure of meeting. He was without hate or anger towards his godly family, instead he was playful, annoying, friendly and understanding. Zoe, give Adam this, I said, summoning one bow almost identical to the ones my hunters used with a few minor modifications. This was the best we could do to help him survive. He needs a good weapon. Understood, Zoe nodded, taking the bow and quiver before leaving. Chapter 15. After the Oracle gave me my quest, fuck her by the way, I decided to leave without taking anyone with me, but Destiny like always said, fuck you, for Annabeth and my nephew Lee Fletcher were waiting for me at the exit of the camp, with angry expressions. You want to go on a quest, solo? Do you have a death wish? If so, they are less idiotic ways to kill yourself, Annabeth stated. I'm coming with you. I'm in too, Lee said. I ain't gonna let you leave this place alone. You two won't take no for an answer, right? I sighed. I suppose I could use some help to guide myself to where I have to go, and if things get ugly, I can always force them to sleep with magic or something. Not even in your dreams, Annabeth smiled. What Goldie said, Lee smirked. All right. I conceded. For now, they would come with me. After leaving the camp with my not-so-desired companions, Annabeth told us to go to a local UPS store and pray for Hermes's help, and if we were lucky he would give us some instructions on how to proceed with the quest. So, UPS is like his temple or something? I asked, somewhat confused. Yes, I knew Hermes was the messenger of the gods, but I don't recall reading UPS was his temple or something. More like he owns it, but
Yeah.
is like his temple, Lee answered. I took another look at the sign and noticed it had changed from the UPS store to the OPS store. Neat little trick. And nice word game, Olympian Postal Service, gotta love that creativity. As I walked in, Annabeth sat down with Lee, and they started praying to Hermes, and with nothing to lose but my time, I decided to do the same. Maybe Hermes would be like my siblings. Lord Hermes, I know that we don't know each other, or rather I don't know you. You being a god are very likely to know about me, and I know that praying to you for help doesn't leave a good precedent, without having even talked to you yet. But, if you can, and it's not too much trouble, please help me, I would really appreciate it. I don't ask for much, just some answers to my questions. P.D. OPS, a very clever name, it made me laugh in a good way. P.D. No hard feelings if you can't help, well maybe a little bit with Annabeth for making me come here, but we cool either way. That has to be the weirdest prayer I have ever gotten, a UPS employee said with a chuckle, putting a package on the counter of the store. You said you had questions, well I have answers. Lord Hermes, I bowed, finally realizing who he was. I am a little insulted, your tag-along duo didn't recognize me earlier. Hermes chuckled, I mean guys, what is Chiron or D teaching you? Like how long has Adam been in the camp? A few months? And yet, he recognized me in less than 10 seconds. We are so sorry Lord Hermes, both Annabeth and Lee bowed in respect and fear. It's all right. I'm just messing with you, but seriously study your Greek lore more. Hermes smiled, turning his gaze at me. Now for those questions, and before you ask, yes, I am super handsome and it's all natural, thank you. Now with that question, what is your second question? I am not gonna lie, Hermes way more friendly than I had anticipated. Well, I have one question or request. Can you show me with exact directions and images where is the Sirens Island? That's a rather specific and foolish question, Hermes laughed. Of course I can, and with the snap of his fingers, I felt the information I had requested entered my brain, and just like that I knew where the island was located, and how to get there. Now on to question number 2. I have one more question, I said with a smile. Good, 'cause I am only giving you one more answer, Hermes smiled. How can we stop the sirens from making us drown with their voices? By this point, Annabeth and Lee must be wondering, why did he waste his questions of that? Or something along those lines. Well, I did it to save time. How? Teleporting. To teleport, I need to know or have a solid idea where I have to go, which I didn't before talking to Lord Hermes, which in turn saved me months of unnecessary travel. But this was just the tip of the iceberg. The sirens were deadly enemies, capable of killing beings stronger than them, and I had no defense against them. My sense nullification spell was incomplete, which was why my second question was how to avoid teleporting to my doom. Hermes hummed, "You know what, kid, I will help you out, follow me," he said, walking to a door that would normally lead to a bathroom inside the store. But I knew otherwise, so I unquestioningly followed him, and as I walked through the door we found ourselves inside a UPS warehouse. Here you go, Hermes AirPods, patent pending. These babies will help you fight their soothing voice, but only if your will is strong. Otherwise it was nice meeting you. Thanks for your assistance, Lord Hermes, Annabeth said, taking a pair of Hermes AirPods. Thanks for everything, Lord Hermes, Lee said, doing the same. As we left the warehouse I heard Hermes mutter, "They are not gonna make it." "Yes, we will." Outside the UPS I started to concentrate my magic to initiate the teleportation spell, and immediately I sensed that something was wrong, for me. The island was very far away, and the fact I was carrying 2 other people made the magical load heavy. So if I teleported there I would be magically cripple myself for at least an hour, so I guess I'll have to beat up Ariel with my own hands. Okay, I can teleport us there, but I will not able to teleport us back, at least for an hour or so, I announced. Wait, Adam, my lady hath sent thee a wonderful gift, that voice, and weird way to word her thoughts, Zoe. I turned around to confirm my suspicions. Thy gift, she added, handing me a silver-colored bow, with a gold quiver. The bow had Artemis's symbol and as for the quiver it had Apollo's symbol. It was like they wanted me to have a part of them. I have to thank them for this if I survive total annihilation today. I wish thee the best of lucks in your hunt. Thanks, Zoe, thanks, I smiled, gripping my new weapon firmly. This marks the end of part 3 of the story Percy Jackson, the God of Magic. Thank you for listening. Please like the video and hit the subscribe button to listen more. Hit the bell icon to get notified of all the new content uploaded to the channel ASAP.